I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rekah Kodash. Double honors to our apostle elders, which rule Great Millstone Well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abal babal. So this is 1 Corinthians 7 verse 17. It's an epistle of Apostle Paul to the Israelites in Corinth. Verse 17, but as power had distributed to every man as the Lord hath called every one, so let him walk, and so ordain I in all churches amongst the elect. All right, and so ordain I in all churches. Let's go to NLT. It says, each of you should continue to live in whatever situation the Lord has placed you, and remain as you were when power first called you. This is my rule for all the churches, for all the elect men. We're really not supposed to look for advancement in the world. All right. The greatest man, as Yahweh Shai said in this profession of prophecy, he said John the Baptist, which left the world behind and lived in the wilderness to do the work. That was the greatest man. All right. So it's not really wise to try to advance in this society. All right. It says in verse 18, is any man called being circumcised? Let him not be circumcised. Let him not become Salakia. It's early. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Don't return to your vomit. Is any called in uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. Why? Romans 3 verse 30, seeing it is one power which shall justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai forbid, yea, we establish the law. All right, and that's what we're doing with these videos. We're teaching you what's right and what's wrong, according to the will of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. So let's get this one in the NLT. It says, for instance, this is 1 Corinthians 7:18. For instance, a man who was circumcised before he became a believer should not try to reverse it, go back to the world. And the man who was uncircumcised when he became a believer should not be circumcised now. Because it's not about keeping the law in the flesh, literally, to some point. All right. But really, you grow into keeping the law. It starts with faith. You got to believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You got to believe that the Bible is the word of Yahweh, which speaks of Yahweh Shai. And then if you're moved by your faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to be circumcised, that's your right. If you don't, you're at liberty not to be circumcised. All right? But we're to call our people out of the ways of the heathen, and the heathen were uncircumcised. All right, so circumcision is nothing. And you got to remember, today, in 2025, heathen are being circumcised. It don't make them righteous. Just like a wicked-ass Israelite, just because he's circumcised don't make him right. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Now that word keeping is it says teresis a watching of prisoners, a place where prisoners are kept, a prison, keeping, complying with obeying. All right, which we were bought with the price. You gotta remember that. That's that's 1 Corinthians 7 and verse. Right here, it says in verse 23, 1 Corinthians 7, verse 23, ye are bought with a price, which Yahweh's blood was spilt for us. Be not ye the servants of men. Right? So don't serve men. Brethren, let every man wherein he is called therein abide with power in the word. Doing what with it? Keeping of the commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Right? Which we remember. That's what the Lord told us to do. Remember. Malachi 4, verse 4. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. All right. Deuteronomy 30 and Deuteronomy 30. Let me see. Yep. Deuteronomy 30, and I'll start at 1. It says, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahweh thy power have driven thee. So you'll look into the scriptures while you live amongst the heathen, and shall return unto Yahweh thy power, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy sons, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy power have scattered thee. Translation comparison NLT, it says, Then Yahweh your power will restore your fortunes. He will have mercy on you and gather you back from all the nations where he has scattered you. It says in verse 4, if any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Which he's talking about us in America. And Yahweh's power will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, the holy land of Israel, which right now you got counterfeits occupying it, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers, which our fathers are the Israelites. And Yahweh's power, and Yahweh thy power, will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy power with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecute you, starting with that so-called white man and the other nations. Esau, Edom, and the other heathen nations. All right. These curses are being put upon them, okay, that persecute us. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy power will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, which means you'll prosper. In the fruit of thy body you'll have children, and in the fruit of thy cattle he'll multiply your riches, and in the fruit of thy land, which you'll have land full of life, for good, for Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, which is in the mouth of the prophets, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto Yahweh thy power with all thine heart and with all thy soul, for this commandment which I command thee this day is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. It's right here on the earth. These scriptures right here is the word of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. All right. So you got the prophets, and then we're on the internet. So it's really like you don't even have to go anywhere. You can watch it from your phone, from your home, right? So there's no excuse. That's what it is. There's no excuse. Let me see if there's any more. The point's been made, What did Yahweh Shai say? In John 14, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments. That word keep, right? Tadeo, say attend to, carefully take care of, guard. Metaphor, to keep one in the state in which he is, to observe. To find the word observe. It says, notice or perceive something and register it as being significant. And that's what we're doing. We notice and perceive the scriptures and register as it is significant through the Holy Spirit. All right, and that's a gift from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We were predestinated